It's a third line day. We have gate 14 in the third line, and this is called service. I have this in my design Venus, the 14-3. So when we get to the third line here, we get to service. People who carry the 14th gate always have a great deal of power, and they're often very successful materially in their process because that power does convert. When they find the right direction, they can always turn that energy into currency. They can always turn that energy into what looks after them, you could say, what benefits them. When you come to the third line and you see the process of trial and error, then the thing to recognize here is that the only way for them to get through the process is to find some way of externalizing that energy as service. So in the lifetime learning, we have the utilization of talent and wealth for the highest good. Don't take any notice of this word highest. It doesn't mean that we have to serve humanity and save them from themselves or any of that bollocks. The service is there because the service that you have to offer is a service that you recognize as being truly valuable. The end. That's it. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you can still operate at the highest value as long as you recognize that your service is benefiting somebody. You can feel comfortable then in that service. And it's not a judgment call about what is good and what is not good, what is service and what is not, because each of us have our own way. And it's the science of differentiation, apart from the fact that this is individuality. Channel 14.2 leads up to the 1.8, which is the creative role model. Individuality is never about being the best. Do you remember we talked about this in gate 43? It's about being different. The wealth and talent of any individual lies in the glorification of their own individuality and their identification with their individuality so that they can be authentically different. In the exaltation, we have selfless selfless contribution to society. The key to power lies in selfless contribution to others. The contribution here, by the way, it's about putting your foot on the gas pedal. It's, that is your contribution. It's giving your power. This is trial and error, and we've got a gate that is all about power. And we have lower trigram here as well, and it doesn't really know how to control the other or how to deal with the other at all. So there's a need here to be of service, mutative service, not collective service, to be of service to somebody by telling them what you know. And not everybody considers that to be a service, of course. Selfless contribution sounds really nice. It doesn't mean it's going to work. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to hear you or everyone's going to accept your contribution. And it doesn't mean there will be a reward because, that's the third line. They're going to make a mistake. They're going to contribute their energy in the wrong direction. That service to any kind of a higher principle is going to be filled with trial and error. And these are people who will offer their energy to different drivers until they have the experience to recognize which driver can really be good for them. In the detriment, we have greed and the self-destruction of moral fiber, the power of selfishness to fuel greed. This is a line that is often deeply misunderstood. The greed of this line is what you see at the top of the headline. It's the accumulation and retention of power. If you are holding all of this power inside of you and you do not find a way to release it, then it could make you ill. It's the greed of saying, I'm not going to provide you with that energy. It's like driving up to a petrol station with your car running on fumes and the attendant says, nope, I'm keeping this petrol for myself, just in case my car runs out of fuel. Go push your car somewhere else. The moral fiber is how society will react to that kind of holding back of all that energy, and they're going to condemn it. If someone has this line, it doesn't mean it's a negative. It means that this is the way in which they are going to come to grips with this process of trial and error in their experience. Ra further clarified the context of greed as it's used here, and he said that it is the greed to have a successful mutation and its byproduct. It is not greed in the sense that they are counting their money. What they want to count is mutative beings as a result of their energy. That is success for the 14-3. The detriment is fixed in Neptune, which brings the potential for this to be a very addictive process, becoming addicted to mutating the other and still not knowing particularly what or who the other is. After all, the third line takes a long time to mature. For all third lines, their maturity comes late in their process, usually at midlife point. This is all about power. The 14 here and the 34, the next gate in the wheel, these two gates have enormous power, and it's raw, sacral power. The 14th gate, because it's so essential for our mutative process, is the gate that can always accumulate the most perks for the success of any mutation. You can all get in the car and want to go for a drive, but unless that 14 puts its fuel in the tank, puts its foot on the pedal, nothing's going to happen. And then they keep on bumping into the other, and the other doesn't know what they're talking about, and they can find that they end up with a lot of problems that way. The selfless, selfish dualism comes to play, the this and the that has to do with who it is they're going to meet. If the direction is selfless, they'll take a selfless direction. And if the direction is selfish, they'll take a selfish direction. And if you've got the selfish part and you meet the selfless part, you've got the selfish part, you meet the self. It doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to say very badly. Because in a way, it's all the same. It's two sides of the same coin, and we need both. We must have all of the experiences. We can't have one experience without the other, because you've got nothing to say, well, you're having the selfless experience if you've never experienced selfishness. We need to have all of it. And it's having it without the moral judgment, which is what's such a gift about human design. We have the experience. We don't have to put the judgment on top of it. Everything about the 14th hexagram is dependent on wisdom, which comes later. What the 14th gate ends up being very good at later in life is being the one who knows that there will always be a perfect possibility for a place to put their energy. That there will be a perfect place for their energy. It's deep inside them. It doesn't get to manifest really until the resonance to the third line and the sixth line. That's when we really start to see the wisdom. In reality, there is a touch of it underneath, where they say, I'm holding on to all this money so I can give it away to a really good cause, but I haven't found the cause yet. If I do, I'll give it all away. The upper trigram is going to be very different. The minute you step into the fourth line and you get to the transpersonal process, you get to the capacity to recognize the others. That is, to know the drivers. And of course, this gives the 14 an advantage, because by knowing the driver, you can be much clearer in your selection of who or which driver you empower. We'll look at the fourth line tomorrow. So the grounding is coming from the third line here in gate 8, which is called the phony. This is the acceptance of style and not the substance of communal actions. The phony can highlight the potential error of the 14 in its service. Is the selfless service truly selfless? And likewise, is the selfish service truly selfish? Neither being bad or good. If it's your design, doesn't matter. It's very easy for the mind to get involved, but it truly doesn't matter. So the moon is still in the gate of extremes, gate 15 in the G center. It's been there since 5:51, so it's there for most of today. At 15:27, it moves into gate 52, keeping still mountain, the gate of inaction. This is a gate in the root center. It brings a sense of stillness to the pressure to move that the root can sometimes hold. There can be a restlessness here. This is a gate in the logical collective circuitry. It leads to gate 58 in terms of circuitry. And there can be a pressure to correct something, which is what we're going through with the 5818. Is can you keep still and wait? Gate 39 is next for the moon at 11, no, 1:11, 01:11 tomorrow morning. This is another root center gate. It's a gate of provocation and obstruction. This is the pressure to provoke in order to find the abundant spirit of the other. This is an individual gate, so potential for melancholy is here, and it's part of the channel of moodiness, looking to the solar plexus and the wave of hope and despair, and back to hope again. Thank you for joining me for this third line. I will see you for the fourth line tomorrow, and enjoy November. And until then, enjoy November. Forget that. Forget I said that. And well, when you can, obviously enjoy it. I'll see you later. Go gently.